To part 2 of our 3-part series on charts for intermediate users. So in the last video we created these 4 basic charts based on this small table over here. So I'm pretty happy with the output at the moment. I think it tells a good story. But now what we want to do is really get into the nitty-gritty of making those charts really perfect, telling the right story, as well as just being really accurate and technically correct. Okay, so we've been through the process of choosing the right chart, etc. Now we're going to customize these to understand the chart elements, adding chart titles, axes, repositioning the legend, and all those things that we need to show in the chart. So where we get all these structural changes is in the chart design ribbon, and then over here in the add chart element. Now before we do that, I just want to make sure our color scheme is consistent. So you might have your own color scheme depending on the company you work for. Generally, I like to get our branding consistent with our brand. So if you have custom colors, choose that. I like to use these color scheme here, so dark blues, light blues, and greens. I think it just looks very aesthetic. The other thing that I like to do is I don't particularly like these boundaries on our charts. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the Format tab, and I'm going to go No Shape Outline, like that. And I'm going to do that for all of the charts here. So Format, No Shape Outline, No Outline, No Outline, No Outline. Okay, so let's start off with the bottom right chart here. You'll notice that right now we have an axis on the y-axis. We have an axis on the bottom axis, which I don't think we really need because we're not counting 1, 2, 3, and 4. Excel's just done that by default, where there isn't an x-axis. It just substitutes in these, 1, 2, 3, 4. What else would you put in there? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this axis here because it doesn't exist. I'm also going to delete this axis title, which has come with, by default, the chart that we have selected. So I'm going to delete that. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is, if I can select it, is I want to resize this one. This one's a little bit harder to, oh, just had it. Okay, there we go. It's a little bit harder to read. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is I've got this legend over here. And it kind of looks like all the other dots in the series. Even I wasn't sure what it was. I thought it was like the total GP percentage or something. But I realized it was actually the legend. So the legend is this field over here. It basically tells the user what each of the little dots mean. In this case, I'm going to delete that, like so. Okay, so we're getting close to finishing this chart. The next thing that I want to do is we have an axis. So it's generally good approach to include an axis title. So the reader knows, okay, I understand what's going on here. This is saying this is 75%, this is 81%, but what does this actually mean? Okay, so we need to explain what that percentage is. And in this case, it's the gross profit percentage by product. So the more specific you can be, the better your chart will be. It makes it easier for the audience to read it. If they have questions, it's going to come back to you. It should be everything that you need on the page. So the next thing I'm doing is I'm just making this a little bit easier to read as well, so it stands out. So I've just made the font size bigger, and I might make this percentage bigger as well, so it's easier to read. Now I'm playing around with what I want to do, bold or not. I think I like bold, makes it a bit easier to read as well. And if you don't have the right amount of decimals as well, I'd like to change that. I'm happy with that because 1% is fairly good. You may need to change the source up here that it's pulling from. For example, if it didn't show a decimal, if it just showed that, I would go up to the source data and I would add 1 decimal. Simply because we're dealing with percentages, we need to know what each number is. Okay, so the next thing that I see as an issue with this chart is that we don't know which of these dots relates to which product. So obviously this is the bad product that we probably don't want to invest in, as that's for profitability. So let's select that one, and we're going to go add data label. Sorry, let's select all of them by clicking on that. You'll see that each of them is now selected. We're going to right click and we're going to go add data labels. I'm just going to press that. Now the other way we could do that is if we went to chart design and went to data labels, and then we can go center, left, basically where we want that to go. I want it to go below because there's a little bit more room, but we could also go above. Yeah, let's go with above. Okay. Okay, so good. So now we know what the percentage is. The only problem is we don't know which product it relates to. So the next thing we have to do is actually edit those data labels. So I'm going to select on these again. So now we've got them all selected, and I'm going to right click, and I'm going to go Format Data Labels. So now this box is going to pop up on the side, and it's going to give me different options. The label contains, so currently it's only showing the Y value, which is the 75.2%. But what else I want to show is this value over here. Now, sometimes you have to go by trial and error which one it is. It's either values from cells or series name. I'm going to try series name. So it's not that. So that's just taking this one here, gross profit. So that was a mistake. Let's try value from cells. Nope, not that one. Let's try X value. Okay, perfect. Here we go. So we can see straight away that A, B, U, and total. Now with this chart, I've also included the total, which is different from the other charts. The reason is, well, it's not going to change the scaling of the chart, but it is going to provide a valid comparative point, because we want to know what the average group total gross profit percentage is compared to each of the different product lines. So we can see product A is the least profitable, but product A is also bringing in, a low amount of revenue. So it might be a conclusion at the end of this is that we should stop investing in product A and reallocate our resources elsewhere. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I want to make these labels a little bit bigger because they're kind of hard to read. Maybe not that big, and then make them bold. Okay, so I think that's a really good chart. Everything stands out really clearly. Probably the only thing missing from this chart is maybe a title. So I might add that in. So let's go to chart design and then go to chart title, and then we can go above chart. Unfortunately, I can't move this outside of the chart, so what I might do is I might try and resize this down a bit, like so. And then I can make the title gross profit of, you know what, I probably don't even need a chart title because with this x-axis basically serves the function of both a chart title and an axis title. So I'm going to undo everything, go back to how it looked before. Cool. I think this one is good to go. Alright, so let's move on to our pie charts next, shall we? So in this instance, a chart title is important. So we want to know gross profit contribution by product percentage. So something that makes it really clear what it's doing, what value we're talking in. Is it dollars or is it percentages? Okay, I'm just gonna do some playing around with the style and the format of this. So I might make this a little bit bigger. Okay, cool. Now, I don't personally think that we need this legend, because what I want to do is I want to add the labels in here so you can clearly see, okay, so this is this is product A, this is product B, and so forth. So I'm actually going to delete that. It's going to give us a little bit more room to play with. This is probably a little bit too big, actually. Okay, perfect. Now, what I want to do is I want to make sure that this chart makes up more of the chart area, because that's pretty much the whole story, and it also gives us a little bit more room to play with down here for inserting our labels actually on top of the chart. Okay, so alright, I think that's a good size. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select these data labels which came with the chart, and I'm going to select series name. Nope. Value. Nope. Category name. Yeah, perfect. Here we go. So right now we know that product A comprises 20% of revenue, product U is 41% of revenue, product B is 39% of revenue. And we can probably also change the style of that. I'm going to put no fill there, and then make the font a bit bigger, like so. Perfect. Just going to move that around. Alrighty, cool. This is looking like a good presentation already. Okay, and I want to do the same thing for the pie chart above. So I'm going to copy the text. I'm going to paste that as value so it doesn't change the format. I'm going to change this to revenue contribution by product. And I'm going to make this a bit smaller. Perfect. I'm going to delete the legend as I did before, and I'm going to resize this chart to make up a bigger size. And again, because it's similar to the chart below, I want them to look as similar as possible. So that means similar size. I might need to make this one a little bit bigger. Okay, I think that's kind of similar size. And this needs to be more centered. And then next, I'm going to format these data labels as I did before. Category name, make it a bit bigger, no fill. And perfect. Now the next thing I want to do for these two pie charts is if I want to emphasize a certain point, what I might do is try and emphasize it visually as well. So the key messages that I've learned so far is product A we probably want to focus away because it's less profitable per unit. So maybe we want to focus on this one here. So let's take out product A like that. We can actually just click and drag it like that. So right away, this is telling a great story. Okay, and then finally, we're going to get to our bar chart over here. Okay, so let's think about what we want. We want to add an access title over here. So we're going to go to add chart element, and we're going to go to access title. And we've got two options. We can go primarily horizontal or vertical. We want vertical, but there's not enough space for it right now. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger and then push this across this way. And then I'm going to move these down a little bit. Okay, and then going back to the step we were working on, we're going to go chart design, add layout, access title, primary vertical, and I'm going to give this a very comprehensive name so it makes sense to everyone. I'm going to say nominal rev GP contribution by product. Perfect. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so it's easier to read. The other thing that I kind of want to specify for the sake of accuracy is what currency we're dealing with. So I'm going to be using Australian dollar like that, but if you're in US dollar, then you should use US dollars and so forth. The other thing is that I want to emphasize is that you should say whether it's in dollars or thousands of dollars. So often our data is in thousands or millions and so forth. So if it's in thousands, just write the currency and then 000 or a million like that. This is actually in dollars, so I'm going to leave it like that, but just be careful of that. So the other thing I noticed is these text seems a little bit different. So this one's Calibri, this one's Calibri, this one's Calibri 14. Maybe we'll make this 12. 12. Or maybe we'll make this one bigger, 14. Can't really. This one's Calibri 14. Okay, there's not much we can do, unfortunately. There's just not a lot of room for us to play with. I'm just going to move it around a little bit. And then I'm going to add the... Actually, we probably don't need the chart title. Similar for the reason why we didn't need it on this one is because this pretty much tells the whole story. Alternatively, we could put the chart title as this. This might look a little bit better. We could do like this. Let's make our chart not as high so it fits in here. And then we could do, we could just do a.million like that. Or that should just say a dollar. And make this one big. Maybe 14 to fit with the other ones. Perfect. Okay, probably the only other thing, I'm going to add some data labels in here. So I'm going to right click, add data labels. So I'm going to go select the chart design, add data labels center. Let's go center. So there are data labels on this one too, you just can't see them because they're white. Sorry, because they're blue. So I'm going to change that to, can you read that? White as well. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make the data labels text options. I'm going to make the text direction go this way, and I'm going to make this one go that way as well. Now I'm also going to format this as numbers so it's a bit easier to read. I'm just changing the source over there. And then I'm going to go series name, revenue. No, that's a bit too much. I think this is fine. I think we'll keep the legend for this one so we can differentiate between the two. We'll also make the product name a bit bigger and try and move this. Okay, perfect. Something like that is good. And just to be consistent with the above chart, we might add a chart title to this one as well. I'm going to add chart title above it, and make this one smaller if I can click it. I don't know why I always have trouble clicking that one for some reason. And then we'll say this one is gross profit by product. And this one we can just say GP percentage, like that. And then make this one a bit wider. Okay, cool. I think I'm happy with this. I might move that over there so it's a bit easier to read. Okay, cool. All right, I think that's everything that we need to know about using a logic process and our chart elements and design functions to create some awesome looking charts that tell a really powerful story. So I think that's all we'll touch base on this chapter. Let's just check that we've covered off everything in this chapter. So we've covered off all of this. We've added data labels. Okay, let's just show grid lines. So for this one here, in the add chart label over here, we can customize our grid lines. So currently we've only got the major primary horizontal. As I highlight this, you can see what it's going to look like if we don't have any grid lines. We can also have both, or just the minor horizontal or minor vertical. Normally it's a good way to kind of see on a chart, like if I were to look at this line here, I can follow that across and say, okay, that's about the 100,000 mark, or this one's about the 120,000 mark. So it's a good way of doing that. I like this one here, major horizontal. It's obviously not as relevant for pie charts, which you don't have them. Let's have a quick look over here, see if there's a better option for this one, because there's quite a lot of lines going on. So maybe we could get rid of the minor ones, perhaps. Grid lines. So did I do that right? Chart design, grid lines. I want the major primary. So, I mean, that looks pretty good. Looks a bit cleaner. Cool. All right, I think that's good. And then show grid lines. Yep, we've formatted the chart area. Yep, that's fine. Trend line. So there's nothing really here that we can use a trend line for. It's more for something that's used over a period of time, not when you're comparing 3 different products. But how you would do it, let's say that this was 19, 20, 21 financial years. How you would do it is you go add chart trend line, you can do linear, and Excel will try and map one of those functions in a straight line to kind of see how it's trending, but it's not really relevant in this situation. And then trend line, error bars, and add a data table. Okay, so we could add a data table using this one here. We could add a table below like that, but I think based on our current setup, this is the perfect representation of the story that we're trying to tell. Okay, cool. I think that is the end of the second video of chart elements. And in the last one, we're just going to be finalizing it off in terms of making it look super pretty and getting the story right and just going through some of the features to kind of let you know how you can customize your charts in future for, you know, those kind of small visual things as well. So I'll see you in the next video.